Hey yeah, so recently I released this game called Memories That Protect Me. Well, I say recently, but it's more like 2 months ago. Anyway, it's a Plants vs Zombies inspired tower defense game, but you sought to have 3D world to collect resources, and occasionally fight some bad guys. I made it for a game jam, and out of every game I made for a jam, I think it might be the most promising looking. The concept of swapping between worlds in a normally pretty static tower defense like this is pretty fun. But the execution on the other hand was pretty rough. I got hung up on a lot of the technical aspects, and as a result, I didn't have much time to polish up the experience. And combined with the fact that the video I made for it did exceptionally well for my standards, I thought it would be perfect if I took about a week or so to polish out the rough edges and turn Memories That Protect Me into the game that I could have been. So I first tried to define what were the biggest parts that needed fixing. One of the most common themes I got from the feedback I got was that the game did a really bad job at teaching mechanics. I talked about it in the last video, but in short, important mechanics like the spirit cannon, the thing you use to shoot bad guys, got very little explanation, so I definitely needed to work on that. And another thing I talked about last video was more of a combination of small gameplay issues, like the sensitivity being too high or a lack of a pause screen. I grouped these all together since they're pretty easy to fix, while still being a big problem on the final experience. And the final thing I wanted to fix was the 3D graphics. I didn't get explicit comments regarding it, but I'm sure everyone who played thought it looked bad. Almost all the 3D models are just stock assets. The textures are just super plain. It's obvious it was made by someone who has no idea how to make 3D games. And if I'm updating the game, I just had to change it as well. Okay, so with those laid out, I got to work straight away. The graphics stuff sounded the most fun, so I thought I'll do that first. Now, I'm still a complete beginner when it comes to making 3D games, so I knew if I wanted to finish this revamp in around a week, I can't just learn and fix every part that I want. So out of all these things that I needed to fix, I decided to ignore all of this and just slap a retro filter on top of the game, and fix up the lighting a little bit. And you know what? It kinda just worked. Is this why so many games use this style? Next, I squashed some of the small gameplay issues I mentioned earlier. Adding a pause screen was really easy. There aren't any settings or special features, but I honestly underestimated how much more convenient the game can feel, just from being able to pause the thing and take a breather. And then I just lowered the sensitivity by a lot, and I mean a lot. Don't know why I made the sensitivity post-void levels of high last time, but at least it's fixed now. Another thing that was really annoying was that there was no easy way to get rid of memories you placed an accident. Oh yeah, I've been calling them units or towers or guys and stuff, but I've decided to just call them memories from now on. Cool? Cool. Anyway, I needed to add something that worked like a shovel from PUZ, which, funny story, I actually already did add before this update. You see, even all the way back when I first added placeable memories, I knew that I'll need a shovel-like feature, so I did. Back then, I had planned to make it so you can select memories and items with specific keybinds. For example, the 1 key to select the water pistol. So I made it so you could press the shift key to use the shovel. I would later abandon this idea in favor of just using these buttons, but the shovel would stay this way because after working on it, I genuinely completely forgot that it existed. I never made any graphic to go with it. I have absolutely no mention of it in the game, and I couldn't even remember to add any mention of it in the game's itch.io page. Just wow. And the annoying thing is that I actually had to code it all over again for this update, since I also cleaned up the code for placing memories. And I made it a straightforward button this time, so hopefully it should be pretty easy to understand. Alright, there's still a few more things I want to fix. Like, a minor annoyance was that these whimsies, the things you collect to place more memories, actually collided with the player, which led to weird things like whimsy getting stuck on your head. That was just a matter of changing from some physics layers. And finally, the effects for taking damage were pretty much non-existent before, just a sound effect. So I added this sick vein effect and a brief slowdown to really sell the impact. Okay, so with that done, all that's left is to make some better tutorials. Now, I still don't want the tutorials to be too intrusive, I hate having to sit through boring tutorials, and it's one of the reasons why I like the original Plants vs Zombies so much. Almost all the information is conveyed through either short messages or an excellent use of character design. Like, no one needs to be told what Chomper does, right? And this is something I tried to do in the original version. For example, I gave a candy dude really long legs to signify that it increases your speed. But for stuff like the spear cannon, which is just a new mechanic altogether that's introduced halfway into the game, you kinda have to be told directly what it does. So I placed a brief tutorial segment introducing how it works. For anyone who didn't watch my last vid, you use it by first clicking on an attacking memory, which gives you ammo. Then you have to switch to the real world and left click to shoot. So I just pre-placed this water pistol at the start of the level, and of course, some short text telling you what to do. Then after harvesting the ammo, it tells you to swap the 3D and shoot. Pretty simple, but I still had to teach you what you can shoot. For this, I decided to be a little more creative. First, I added this little crosshair, which was already needed since aiming was a bit tricky before. I then made it so the crosshair glows red whenever you're hovering above something you can shoot, like the 3D ghosts or these chests with loot. It's just a subtle way to hint at what to shoot. And just to be safe, I also used the good old reliable method of just drawing stuff on the wall, just to make sure. I was running low on my made up week-long deadline, so for the rest of the parts that needed better tutorials, I just did the same draw on the walls method. It was a little vague whether these lava thingies did damage or not, for example, so I just drew this thing. Cool. And with that, I say my new version of Memories That Protect Me is done. There's a link in the description if you want to play it. But before you go, first of all, thanks for 100 subscribers. I'm incredibly late for this, but I did ask for questions for a Q&A, so yeah. Here's a mini Q&A segment. The first question by this guy is, what are your favorite roguelikes and favorite games in general? As well as what's a deal breaker when it comes to games? For roguelike games, Space Gladiators is one of my favorites. I'm making a game based off of it after all. But my number one favorite is Nuclear Throne. It's just a classic, and I've spent the most amount of time on it. As for favorite game in general, it has got to be Ultra Kill and Plants vs Zombies Heroes. I'll give no further comments. And the biggest turnoff for me when it comes to games is probably something like backtracking. I'm a really impatient person, so I hate visiting areas that I've already visited. I basically never play any Metroidvanias because of this, and even in games where exploring isn't the focus, if there's a secret level or something, I pretty much always look up how to find it. Next question. If every drink costed $3 in a vending machine, what would you buy? Not sure why it's just expensive enough to be annoying, but if it's winter, I'll buy some hot cocoa. But if it's summer, I would buy iced cocoa. Okay, next. How did you learn to code? I just watched a lot of YouTube tutorials. I started doing the same way as a lot of people do, which is watch a Brackeys tutorial. Always count on Brackeys tutorials. And yeah, after that I mostly just did whatever I wanted and looked up anything I couldn't figure out on YouTube, which was a lot of things in Solace. Okay, that's it for the questions. Thanks again for 100 plus subscribers. It's been a year since I made this channel, and I think I'm finally getting the hang of this whole YouTube thing. Maybe. Okay, goodbye!
You